My fiancée told me she needed a no-contact pause to discover herself. I responded, "Take whatever time you require." Then I sent her possessions to her parents' home. The frantic "I'm prepared to return home" message arrived the following day. I, 31 male, or I suppose was betrothed to Lauren, 29. We've been a couple for 6 years, sharing the apartment for 4 in the unit I purchased prior to knowing her. Our marriage was set for 5 months ahead. I truly thought we were content. Last Wednesday, she pulled me aside on our couch, the one we dedicated an entire weekend selecting, arguing the advantages of velvet versus textured material. She wore an expression I'd never witnessed before. Not fury, not sorrow, but a sort of remote gravity. "Kyle," she started, her eyes locked on a point on the wall just past my shoulder. I have to be truthful about my path at the moment. My gut clenched. The term path, when not referring to actual travel, is seldom positive. "What sort of path, Lauren?" "I feel somewhat adrift," she replied, her tone a precisely tuned tool of authenticity. "I care for you deeply, naturally, but in constructing our existence together, I believe I've misplaced contact with who Lauren is apart from us. I require distance, a genuine no-contact pause to rediscover myself." I simply gazed, my thoughts stalling. It seemed like she was reciting from a poor personal growth guide. A no-contact pause, what does that involve? "Are you crashing with Kelly for a couple days?" She shook her head, a hint of irritation in her eyes. "No, Kyle, I need an actual pause from us, from this unit, from our habits. I need to be entirely independent. No messages, no calls. It's the sole method I can determine my own direction. I've spent enough time online. I recognize the pattern. I need to rediscover myself off in code, for I've already discovered another person and want to trial it without repercussions." My initial reaction was a searing, overwhelming surge of rage. I wanted to shout, to insist on the reality, to question if the past 6 years were a total farce to her, but my voice failed me. I couldn't utter a word. I envisioned the road forward, the arguments, the begging, the gradual torturous demise of our bond over weeks or months. And in that instant of powerless quiet, another idea emerged. A chill, serene, and profoundly pragmatic one. She was requesting a conclusion. She was merely wrapping it in counseling jargon to ease her conscience. I drew a slow, uneven breath. When I eventually spoke, my tone was disturbingly steady. "All right," she blinked, evidently surprised. "All right, yes, all right, your path matters. You ought to take all the time you require. I comprehend." The ease that spread across her face was nauseating. She anticipated a spectacle, a battle. I provided her a simple departure. "Oh, Kyle, thank you. I knew you were adult enough to grasp. I'll just grab an overnight pack." "No," I said, my tone still soft, but with a fresh sharpness. "If you require a fresh start, you require a fresh start. No partial efforts, no backups." I rose, the action feeling oddly removed, like observing another person. "Take all the time you require, Lauren. I'll handle everything here." She departed an hour later with a modest duffel, offering me a swift, dry peck on the cheek. She claimed this would strengthen us ultimately. I merely nodded, the falsehood lingering in the space between us. The door latched, and the quiet of the unit overwhelmed me. I didn't stir for an hour. I just remained there on my side of the couch, fixating on the dent she'd left. The rage I'd held back earlier returned, trailed by a tide of sorrow so intense it seemed like suffocating. This was the end. It was genuinely finished. I didn't rest that night. The following morning, driven by caffeine and a vacant sensation in my torso, I realized my next steps. I couldn't exist in a shrine to our bond, awaiting her to perhaps decide I was her choice. Her plea for a pause was the termination. My agreement was the burial. I began boxing. It wasn't a mechanical, emotionless task. It was harsh. Every item I handled was a recollection. The unattractive pottery cup I got her on our initial getaway, her assortment of exercise mats, the exorbitantly priced beauty routine that occupied the whole bathroom shelf. I boxed it all, my sorrow gradually solidifying into a stern determination. This was an essential severance. By late afternoon, my living area was packed with cartons. I contacted a professional relocation service, not an urgent one, just a standard booking. They arranged collection for the next morning. While awaiting, I initiated the virtual cleanse. Removed her name from the service bills she was meant to oversee. I visited our ceremony site's portal. The $2,500 down payment was non-returnable. I glared at the figure, a tangible price for our collapse tomorrow. It strung. With a profound inhale, I completed the termination form and submitted it digitally. The next day, after the crew had removed all 17 cartons directed to her parents' residence 3 states away, I stood in the resounding emptiness of my own space. I felt drained, not victorious, just weary. That afternoon, my device vibrated. It was Lauren. The message: "I've had some reflection time. It was an error. I'm prepared to return home now. I miss you." I anticipated a wave of ease. It never arrived. Instead, I just felt fatigued. I messaged back, "I don't believe that's wise. Your items are en route to your parents' house. They should arrive by week's end. I wish you discovered what you sought." Her call followed 3 seconds later. I allowed it to ring to voicemail. The onslaught had started. Update 1. It's been an extended week. Gratitude for the encouraging notes. It's odd how reassuring it is to have unknowns affirm you're not unbalanced. My device has been a conflict zone. Following her first 27 unanswered calls, Lauren's messages turned into a showcase of emotional volatility. "Lauren, what do you mean you sent my stuff? Kyle, call me. This isn't amusing. You shipped my things to my parents. Are you for real? You can't do that." It was a pause, Kyle, a pause to improve myself for us. I erred. I was frightened and I botched it. "Please, I adore you. Let's simply discuss this. I'll do whatever." Then arrived the message from her closest friend Kelly, not shouting but something much more sly. "Hey Kyle, Lauren is utterly devastated. I think you truly exaggerated. You know she adores you. She was merely bewildered. You need to rise above and allow her to return home." Me, she wanted a no-contact pause. "I'm providing it to her. Don't be harsh. She didn't intend it that way and you know it. She merits some leniency. Don't discard 6 years because you're upset." The manipulation was remarkable. The genuine issues began on Tuesday. I got an email from Martha, the planner at our ceremony location. It wasn't the straightforward acknowledgement I anticipated. "Dear Kyle, I am contacting you about your termination request for event, redacted. I must notify you that we got a call from Miss Lauren yesterday. She claimed that your termination request was submitted mistakenly during a time of individual turmoil, and that she, as the joint signer on the agreement, does not agree to the termination. Moreover, she has asked that if the event slot is to be freed, the $2,500 down payment be retained as a credit in her name for a later reservation. As there is a conflict between the signing parties, we cannot advance with the termination or provide any returns credits until we obtain a notarized mutual declaration or a court order. The amount is presently on hold." My veins chilled. This wasn't merely an awkward money grab. This was cleverer. She wasn't attempting to seize the funds directly. She was aiming to ensnare it in administrative purgatory. She knew I avoided disputes and was wagering I'd prefer her taking the money over managing the bother. It was a deliberate ploy. I phoned Martha, who was courteous but resolute. She clarified that her options were limited. Both our names were on the original agreement, even though I covered everything. She couldn't proceed on my statement alone when her joint signer was vigorously challenging it. The vision of a tidy separation evaporated. This was going to become complicated. To worsen it, I received a call from Lauren's mother, Judith. I expected her to be furious, but her tone was just strained. "Kyle, Walter and I are here. We just talked to Lauren. She said you expelled her without any notice. What in the world is happening?" She wasn't raising her voice, but the protective edge was evident. She was shielding her daughter. This wouldn't be a simple discussion. Update 2. All right. Matters have intensified. It seems like I'm in a cheap courtroom thriller. That conversation with Lauren's parents was exhausting. I didn't counter Judith's protectiveness with fury. I just steadily and mournfully presented the details. I informed her precisely what Lauren stated. Her "I need to rediscover myself" monologue. Then I mentioned her contact to the ceremony site, attempting to secure the $2,500 down payment. There was a prolonged quiet on the line. Then I heard her father, Walter, exhale deeply in the distance. "Judith," he said, "inquire if this involves a guy named Zachary." My pulse raced in my chest. "Who's Zachary?" I asked, plainly clueless. Judith's tone was tight when she returned. "Kyle, we're apologetic. We didn't realize the full scope. She has a pattern of rash choices. We just wished she had outgrown it." It wasn't the instant full backing from the initial tale. It was the hesitant, tired admission of parents who have witnessed this pattern previously. They didn't propose to resolve it. They just seemed worn out. A week later, I got a bulky envelope via mail. No registered mail, just ordinary. Inside was a printed letter from Lauren and a pile of copied invoices. She had elevated her strategy. There was no mention of feelings. It was an elaborate 4-page paper requesting compensation for a portion of our shared living. She added duplicates of invoices for a bookcase, an office seat, assorted cooking tools, and a charge for a dental treatment from 2 years back. She asserted she had paid many home costs in cash and was seeking repayment. Her total request was a startlingly exact $94.75. It was an invention, but a thoroughly backed one. She was constructing her argument, hoping to overwhelm me with documents. The underhanded tactics persisted. The photographer phoned me not to demand payment, but to alert me. Lauren had phoned him, informed him the marriage was cancelled, and inquired if he could draft a loss statement for her, claiming she had paid the $1,000 down payment entirely so she could file it on an insurance plan she never possessed. He was a decent man and sensed something off, so he wanted to inform me she wasn't just fabricating to obtain money, she was trying to persuade others to fabricate for her. This was the breaking point. My sorrow had long vanished, substituted by a firm, unyielding decision. She wanted to engage in document battles. All right, I managed data tables for my career. The response: I didn't create just one data table. I produced an entire slide deck. Slide 1, overview, a concise, courteous dismissal of her request. Slide 2, review of Lauren's assertions. I examined her invoices individually. The bookcase. I referenced my bank card record from that period, displaying the fee to my profile. The office seat. I located the purchase email verification in my name. The dental treatment. I included a duplicate of the coverage record showing my plan had paid 80% of it. Slide 3. Kyle's verified damages. This was my counterpart to her request. The $2,500 site down payment on hold, but my damage. The $1,000 photographer charge lost. The expense of transporting her belongings across 3 states, $785. The last service invoice she'd saddled me with, $180. My total verified damages directly from her conduct, $4465. Slide 4, the way ahead. I presented 2 choices. Choice A: she executes a certified declaration consenting to the termination of the ceremony site agreement and forfeits any right to the down payment. In exchange, I will cover my fourth $165 damage and we part ways, never communicating again. Choice B: she declines, and I utilize the precise evidence I was showing to sue her in small claims to reclaim my damages. I saved the deck as a PDF. I named it Monetary Settlement. I composed a very brief, courteous email, attached the PDF, and dispatched it to Lauren. And again, I copied Walter and Judith, not from spite, but because they were now involved in this chaos regardless. I didn't receive a reply for 4 days. The quiet was disturbing. Final update: it's done. I believe it's ultimately completely done. The conclusion wasn't a dramatic blast, but a gradual, untidy fade. I never learned about Zachary directly. I never got a straight response from Lauren to my email. The details seeped in from the one shared acquaintance, Harold, that I still speak with. He learned the account from a highly chatty, very apologetic Kelly, who was attempting to regain favor in the social circle. Evidently, my monetary settlement PDF triggered a collapse of legendary scale. Her parents, confronted with irrefutable proof of her deceptions, at last drew the line. The discussion wasn't one clash, but a week-long struggle. They laid out the evidence to her. She attempted to refute them, but the invoices and records were undeniable. They severed her support, not just her charge card, but the entire cushion. Zachary, the self-styled business visionary, did not respond with a dramatic justice monologue. His response was far more ordinary and pitiful. Once he understood Lauren's family backing was withdrawn, and she arrived with considerable obligations which her parents told her she now had to manage, he merely drifted off. The messages grew rarer. He was abruptly always occupied in discussions. About 2 weeks after she was financially severed, she returned to their leased small apartment to discover his items vanished and a memo on the counter that read, "Sorry. The vibe here isn't suitable for me anymore." He restricted her on all platforms, no spectacle, just a silent, timid departure. Lauren is now residing with her parents. Not just in the basement, but in her former adolescent room. It's not a penalty, it's a stark requirement. Per Harold, she's not chastened or contrite, she's resentful. She's crafting a new tale to a renewed group of former school pals. In this rendition, she was the target of a domineering, emotionally distant betrothed me, who harshly evicted her, and then she was exploited by a fraud Zachary. Some folks are accepting it. I've had to restrict a few of her extended family on social platforms who dispatched me furious notes. A week after I dispatched my email, I got a letter from a certifier. It was the executed agreement to free the site down payment. She selected choice A. She knew she would fail in court, so I prevailed. But it doesn't seem like a pure triumph. I forfeited a woman I cherished for 6 years. I'm down over $4,000. I have confidence problems that will require considerable time to process. The unit doesn't feel vacant anymore, it just feels peaceful. I've begun refurbishing, but it's a gradual effort. Some days I feel liberated and buoyant. Other days I feel an old echo of resentment and sorrow. It wasn't a tidy tale with a flawless conclusion. It was a chaotic, aching, and costly education. Sometimes when individuals reveal their true nature, you must be prepared to box it all and dispatch it off, even if it takes a fragment of yourself. Thanks for tracking the journey. It's time for me to sign off and begin a fresh phase.